Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Mark Sudduth here. Good to have you with me. It's Friday afternoon now, what is it, the 17th of January, 2025. Welcome to my live discussion. We got a lot of cold air coming down into the lower 48. Very cold air. And look, I know people say it's winter. What's the big deal? By the way, look, I'm wearing a t-shirt today because it's like in the mid 50s outside, and that's warm enough for me. I just remembered that. And plus, it's in the mid 70s in the office here. A lot of computers, so this room stays warm. But yeah, we got a lot of cold air coming, and I know it's winter and it's expected, but this cold air is going to be widespread, enveloping a large chunk of the country, and it's even affecting plans, for example, for inauguration on Monday, all the activities, the most important stuff being moved indoors, too cold even for the inauguration. So, yeah, it's already affecting that, and all the people that are going to be up there for that event. It's going to be really, really cold. And with all this, the possibility, this cold air, of a southern winter storm track. So, we're going to talk about that and more in today's live discussion. We'll be about 20 minutes today. Show you some of the things I'm looking at, and I want to point you in the direction of some people that you can trust to give you some really good information. All right. Just looking at my notes here. So one of the things I want to show you is let me do a screen share and let's jump back over to YouTube. I'd like to say hello to the folks on YouTube, first of all. And there's me. How about that? Let's just pause that. I don't need to see myself. Um, 51 folks. Good to see the 51 folks in here. Mid 50s is cold for Florida. Yeah, Kathy, I hear you, but you know me, I'll take it, especially compared to um, colder, like what it's gonna be. So let's do the screen share. I guess I already am. So let me see. Can you see this shot? I want to make sure everything's working of my GoPro player. It's all in green outline, so I'm pretty sure it's showing up. I wanted to show this on my update on Monday, but the video got cut at the end from my recording software. A real bummer when it does that. It's just random. Like at 20 minutes, it just cut off, and I wanted to show you this video. So I'm gonna jump back over to the browser. You guys seeing the let's see, seeing the drone shot? All right, cool. So I want to show you this. I want to start off with this because this is important for us going forward in our field work, covering all kinds of weather. Obviously, hurricanes is the main thing we do here at Hurricane Track. I understand that, but a lot of the technology that we have developed over the last 20 to 25 years has been developed in the off season, and that makes sense. Preparations are usually done in the off season. And one of the things I've been experimenting with, as you guys are probably aware of, if you've been following the channel for any length of time, is our recent use more and more of 360 video. And that is exactly what this is. This is a still shot because I haven't pressed play yet. And yes, the 360 camera is on my drone. I practiced it in my driveway lots of times and had to get it right because the balance is very delicate. You got to be really careful when you put a camera on top of a drone. Good luck if you want to try it, because if you just, there's definitely an FAFO component to this if you're not careful. But here, seriously, this is what is so special about it. Being able to look around the shot and see everything in 360, and the drone rotors are really not that distracting. We can zoom in and we can see things that we just can't see with a regular drone shot. And of course, I can pause. This is the Shenandoah River, and this is last week, about a week ago. And this is Asheville. The Biltmore Village is sitting right over in this area over here. And that's the Home Two Suites Hotel that I stayed in. And this is the Shenandoah. And there's a few things that come to mind real quick. Why is it still completely filled with junk? That is very depressing. But the other thing is the ability for us to really be able to see the aftermath, whether it's months later, like this, or hours or minutes later. I think this could be very useful in search and rescue. The faster that we could put some of this type of video on YouTube and share it publicly, the better. It could really help people. People can see their property. I just see a lot of use for this that has utility, that serves more than just ooh and ah. We can see things in geologic features, for example, the erosion in here, the way the riverbank is still crumbling. We could do this in the aftermath of a hail swath. It could be done in the aftermath of a big winter storm, hint, hint, coming up. And then in this use case here up in Asheville, in the wake of Helene, um, I just thought I would share this with you. This is really, really going to be helpful down the road. And a few other things to point out. There's the ice. I'm sure it's more now along the edges of the Swannanoa. And just to put this into perspective as we move along, and this is the beauty of this, if this was a regular drone shot, I wouldn't be able to do this. I can slide over. The water level got up to about right here, and just to understand that kind of scale, that the Swannanoa came up that high, and of course it was roaring this way very fast, and it swept a lot of stuff. But I wanted to start off with this and just kind of show this new use of 360 video, which I think will be extremely effective going forward in all kinds of work that we do in hurricanes, obviously. There's another great example, another good use case for this. Look right here in this tree, this piece of wood that's just lodged up in the tree. And to understand how high the water level, which is all the way down here, had to get to do that. And even the second story here of the hotel that I stayed in, there's windows over here that are all bashed in, and the parking level is down there. I stayed in this hotel in 2020 with my family when we were up in the mountains doing some hiking during the height of the pandemic, and you weren't allowed to do anything indoors. We stayed here. We went hiking around in Western North Carolina. But anyway, just wanted to start off with this. Yes, it's a somber look at the aftermath of a cataclysmic event for Western North Carolina, but also, hey, look, who's that guy? There's me. A good use of technology. And I don't want to say I can't wait to use it because that means something bad generally has to happen. But I do believe this could have some really good practical uses going forward beyond just the quote unquote eye candy aspect of the situation, right? So let's see. I want to move my. There we go. All right, so let's get on with the winter storm, and let me just jump back over to the YouTube. I want to say hi real quick to everybody. We got Scott on here and Mary Allison and Will and Kathy. Good to see you guys. Corey, what is that? Bergman. Good to see you. 80 folks. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Maybe I should do these in the afternoon and not 9 o'clock in the morning. At least my voice is better this time of day. You catch my morning versions of this, and I'm all like, rah, because it takes a while to get going. I'm not quite the morning person that I would like to be, so maybe I should do these in the afternoon. Plus, I have the benefit of all the 12Z model data. Something to think about. And it's nice and quiet, no kids here, whatever. So let's get on with it. Let's show you what we're looking at with this winter weather that's coming. And we'll start off, by the way, here's the thumbnail for today's live event. Southern winter storm. It's looks like it's coming, all right? So let's take a look at a few people on the Twitter here. And so Daniel is up in Columbia, South Carolina. Scott, you follow Daniel Bonds there? Hey, he's a coach. Maybe he's the basketball. I don't know. I know that Scott, one of our viewers, is big into basketball. And Daniel went to Mississippi State, and I felt like this was important to share because we're starting to see this show up in social media messaging from reliable sources. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of the update today. I'm going to give you a tip on what's reliable and what's not, because there's a lot of bad info out there. I just want to point people in the direction where you can just save time and headaches. All right. So Daniel talking about the probabilistic winter storm severity index, these graphics. So the red, don't get too alarmed by it. It's just a pretty high probability here. If we look at the expanded graphic, red is up to 60%, and that is encompassing the coastal plain of North Carolina, certainly parts of the deep south here in Alabama, Mississippi. It's just showing that the winter storm probabilities, the impacts, those likelihoods are indeed increasing. All right. Another, and this is a good friend of mine here, Dylan Federico. He's over in the Big D. They had some snow and ice and slush and mayhem several days ago. and he's from New Orleans area, and so he knows these Gulf Coast I-10 coastal winter storms can be a big deal. I mean, folks, we're talking about the potential for Houston down to Corpus, over to the Big Easy, along the I-10 corridor, maybe parts of I-20, getting ice and snow because the depth of that Arctic air mass, the Siberian air mass, really, will be favorable for this. And we'll get into the mechanics of it in just a bit. But it is starting to show up in the reliable sources. You know, we're within 5 days now, so it makes sense to really start to talk about it. And then here in my hometown, Wilmington, North Carolina, Weather Service office here also indicating that our impact probabilities, the likelihood also starting to really go up here. Just an expansion of what I was showing you there from this post from Daniel. So, what is the culprit here? Well, let's just start with the temperatures because that's what you need. Kids always ask, well, it's cold enough to snow. Why isn't it snowing? So, you got to get the cold air in first. And this is the 2 meter temperatures over the next several days. And look at all that deep cold air that's going to be sinking into the lower 48 as we go forward. So, a lot of cold air out there. But cold air alone is not enough to pull this off. And let's just look at some of these temperatures. This is Monday evening, inauguration evening. What should we use here? I need something that'll clash with other thing. We use this red color. So single digits in parts of Pennsylvania, lower 20s here in Southern Virginia. So you look at this and you go, well, that's not that cold. But you know, it's cold enough, and it's such a wide area of cold. That's the thing. It's very far reaching. It's not just in the northern tier states or something like that. It's a pretty large area overall. And the anomalies, though, this is what I want to show you too. The departure from the average there is substantial. So when you look at it in this perspective, we're talking well below normal temperatures over a huge area here of the eastern United States. Heck, the eastern, why did I draw a box? I didn't mean to do that. The eastern 2/3 or more, 3/4, whatever. Pick a large fraction, that would do it. That's a large area of the country that's going to be well below average. And this does extend down to the Gulf Coast states where we are not used to wintry weather. All right, so the cold air is going to be in place, but will the air column support that? The snow. So this is one of the things I'm going to talk about with you as we continue forward. There is the risk of this warm nose kind of coming in above the surface. And I'm going to show you this on a sounding in just a minute. And I'm going to show you a post from our friend Eric Webb because there's a lot of excitement. Kids, and I'm a kid at heart, we love the snow. It's exciting. We'd rather it snow over sleet and freezing rain. I think everybody could agree to that. If you're going to get wintry precipitation, let it be snow. Sleet, waste of time. Freezing rain, that's even worse. So the risk that we see more sleet and freezing rain over snow is definitely there. And I want to point out some things for you to look at as we go forward in some of these model sites like Tropical Tidbits and elsewhere. So this is the 12Z GFS. And first of all, we are going to get a nice little, the first front that comes through that drops the cold air in. A good little storm here coming up through the mid-Atlantic and interior areas of the I-95 corridor this weekend. So I don't want to leave that out. So West Virginia up through Virginia, Maryland, anybody traveling north, especially driving up north for the inauguration and trying to fly in, this is going to cause headaches. So you just need to be aware of that. This is Sunday afternoon. This is early Monday, overnight Sunday into Monday. That's a pretty good nor'easter kind of looking deal, almost like a hybrid Miller B type storm. You know, they get started right off the Jersey coast there. By the way, your Miller A, they get started generally over here, and they can run up the coast like that. Your Miller B usually starts something like that. Simplification of it, but that's what we talk about when we talk about Miller A and Miller B. But that's a pretty good snowstorm for New England early in the morning hours of Monday, and then it departs the area. And then the cold air really starts to drain in. And look at that, 1038 millibar high centered over Kentucky and the extreme northern reaches of Tennessee. That is a big, thick piece of high pressure. And then by Monday into Tuesday, the shenanigans begins. All right, and this is our first lesson here. So a huge chunk of Arctic, Siberian air, whatever, that's in place. But is it cold enough for all snow? These pinkish colors, that's your mixed sleet, freezing rain, that kind of stuff. The blues in here on Dr. Cowan's legend, that would be your snow, and the various gradients would be the snow rate. But let's take a sounding. First, a sounding is like if you went up through the profile of the atmosphere and checked all the different features, like if you stuck a thermometer and every other measuring instrument in the atmosphere. So here's what you see in the atmosphere, and let me start over. This is way up in South Dakota. Let's just pick that. So way up in South Dakota, your temperature is pretty steady the higher up you go. This is the surface. Temperatures are below zero. You're at 900 millibars. There's 500 millibars, almost 20,000 feet or so. And this is important. So at 20,000 feet, in this sounding that I picked in South Dakota, the temperature is just a little bit warmer than it is at the surface because you can see this bend back to the right, and your temperatures increase this way, they decrease this way. You understand? So that's pretty normal. And then it warms up as you get up into the higher parts of the atmosphere. It's all about atmospheric physics. Don't worry about it right now. This part is where we need to be focusing on, especially when we're talking about down south. So that's pretty normal, pretty cold, and the dew point and everything else pretty parallel with it. That makes a lot of sense. That's a solid cold air mass all the way up into the atmosphere. Now, if we do the same thing down here in Texas, this is the problem. So there it is, 30 degrees at the surface, and then at just a few thousand feet up, bam, the temperature starts to warm. So that warm nose is prevalent, and then it cools off again. So you're going to have this layer where precip could fall, warm up, and then hit the ground as freezing rain. Possibly. That's the problem. This profile is not ideal for snow. And that's what we need to look for throughout this event. All right. So let's move this along. You get the snow across the I-10, I-20 corridors, freezing rain, snow, sleet, whatever down in the south. And again, let's just do a sounding here in and around New Orleans. And 32 degrees right at the surface, but then just a few thousand feet up, it does warm pretty rapidly. So the deal is the snow has to be able to fall down through the air column and stay snow till the surface. If you have warm air through this area, it melts and becomes rain again or liquid, and then it freezes on the surface. You have freezing rain. But if that snow, I should draw a snowflake on here, falls, melts, and then refreezes before it hits the ground, it's sleet. And that's what we have to watch for. This could rob us of a good snowfall. That's the danger here. Pretty good high placement there, big 1037 millibar high, cold air banked up against the Appalachians in here, all the way down into the deep south. It's pretty good ingredients overall, no doubt. But the danger there of that warm nose, and the potential for this to be more northwest with the overall precip shield, and you'd push that warmer nose more inland, and you could even rob the coastal plain. So this is going to be tricky. And I don't envy the folks down here along the Gulf Coast that are going to have to try to forecast this. School districts, airports, everything's going to be looking at this. The kids for snow days, whatever. So anyway, this is Tuesday night into Wednesday. It comes into my neck of the woods. And here's a great example. Let's look at the southeast U.S., do a sounding right here over Wilmington. And I mean, that's just a real heartbreaker. 27 at the surface, that's not bad, but it warms rapidly, into the 40s. And obviously, this is in Celsius. 10 degrees Celsius is what, 50 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, if I remember correctly. Um, and so it does warm pretty quickly just off the surface. So the probability of sleet and freezing rain is definitely there on the GFS. This is the GFS. Let's look back as we go to the models as a whole and look at the Canadian and see what it's suggesting. It's a bit more of a powerhouse. Watch this. The Canadian sends that first system through, then the next one comes in, and let's just look at the soundings on the Canadian again for like Eastern Texas as an example. Come on, you gonna let me click? Oh, it doesn't do the soundings off the Canadian. I did not know that. But the Canadian certainly paints, just looking at it verbatim, a much more significant snowstorm for areas across the Gulf Coast. I guess it's suggesting a deeper, colder air column And boy, Wednesday morning in Southeast North Carolina, if this came in verbatim, that'd be a dream come true for snow lovers. And then it exits the picture, and that is that. What about the Euro? For the Euro, I have dialed up the old pivotal weather, and the Euro is very similar in its evolution of everything. This is 72 hours from now. Cold air is in place, and we just move out through time. This is 90 hours. You start to get the cold and snow and everything down in Texas, 96, 102. Again, across the I-10 corridor, spreading across eastern North Carolina, southern Georgia, Florida Panhandle. Just a big mess overall, but wintry, and some people are going to enjoy that. But it is going to be tricky because this is 114 hours out, just this right here, late in the night, Tuesday into Wednesday. A lot could change. This could be more northwest, and you push that warmer boundary more northwest, and it's going to rob people and they're going to be mad because you're going to get freezing rain and sleet instead of snow. And I start to wrap it up with this. Eric Webb kind of hinting at that. And he is smart. This guy is really, really good at picking out this stuff. I got to hand it to him. And that's why I want to point him out to you. Give him a follow if you're not already. So he says next week's potential winter storm in the southeast U.S. reminds me a lot of January 29, 28, 29, 2014. Overall pattern is generally close, and the depiction of this storm in the model of this range is quite similar to, spoiler alert, and this is what I was just telling you about. This particular storm trended north, the one back in 2014, and west, down basically to the 0 hour, and the warm nose aloft, that's what I was showing you, slashed the snow totals in the coastal plain of the Carolinas with more sleet, and sleet will rob your QPF, your PWatt, whatever, badly. That is just so annoying. Sleet, that's just the worst. A classic case of the models, once again, underestimating the effect of warm advection, that is air that's moving laterally, sideways, right, horizontal, and isentropic upglide aloft. So just the way that air gets lifted up over your colder air. So your colder air is down at the surface over here, and then you've got your warmer air that's coming in, and it gets bumped up and over that colder air, and it makes and then there's colder air obviously higher up in the atmosphere, so the snow comes down through, we'll use green as snow, through, it freezes, warms, freezes again, and you can either have sleet or freezing rain, but you get robbed of the snow, and that's the bottom line. All right, so let me jump over to YouTube again real quick just to see what folks are saying. 107 people tuned in. I appreciate that. Good to see you guys. So Scott, I'm in Colorado and it's going to get out of control cold here. That is exactly right. That's the other part of this. Again, when people say it's winter, it's supposed to be cold. Okay, yeah, it is, but it could also be dangerously cold even in winter. In summer, like you get, heat waves. It's normally 90 somewhere, but if it's 110, that is a big deal. So Scott's right on the money there. This cold can be very dangerous. Start talking about frostbite. And look, most people that live in these areas, Scott probably knows, they're prepared for this, but some people aren't. They move to these places, they don't know, and they do need to be made aware. So let's see. Tom Stone, just picking different folks at random here. I believe this will shift more northwest and more snow for western South Carolina, North Carolina. Cold air will be, delay east of the mountains. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. We'll see. I really hope, though, that we do get some good snow here in Wilmington. That would be nice. Yeah, Michael down there in Jacksonville, maybe down to Daytona. We'll see. That'd be a stretch there. So let me show you a couple things before I let you go. And this is important. Let me just come back on real quick and we'll do a screen share as I wrap this up. So a lot of people have been sharing with me on the old iPhone screenshots of their Apple weather. And they're like, several days ago, like, dude, 7 to 10 inches of snow is forecast for my area. Yeah. And I'm like, what app is that? And they're like, it's just the app that came with my iPhone, the Apple Weather or whatever. And not to besmirch a multi-billion-dollar tech company, but you need to understand that most of these default apps are just taking raw output with no interpretation, no forecast, and it's not a forecast. It's just taking raw data and turning it into a graphic that you can see. And I believe That's what like AccuWeather does with their 45-day forecast. They're very famous for that, or infamous, if you will. And again, not trying to besmirch anyone or be all high and mighty about it, but raw numbers are just that. Raw numbers. They're not interpreted. They're not, like massaged to figure out what they mean when they're just put out there raw. So I could take, as an example, a raw snapshot of the GFS, and people do this all the time. I've made the mistake of doing it sometimes, way out in time. Like, look here, this is 276 hours out, and you could just post this, and a default computer weather app might look at this. These anomalies are like 20, almost 20 degrees above average on January 29th. And so a raw number here in Eastern Kentucky might say, I don't know, 62 degrees or something. So you look at that and you go, dude, on the 29th of January, it's going to be 62 degrees here in Eastern Kentucky. Well, that could change because it's so far out in time. And that interpretation in these weather apps just isn't there. So my advice, and this is a nice one here, this is easy. You go to weather.gov on your mobile device, and this is what I've done. I'm just going to kind of show you. Hold up my phone, and you can do a little, add to home screen, so it's almost like a little app. So there's weather.gov, and I've got it bookmarked to the local National Weather Service here in Wilmington, and there you go. So you just literally go in and say add to home screen on, come on, refocus on me, on your Apple device. Now I'm all out. It's going to give everybody a headache. I screwed up my camera. Way to go, Mark. You just do that on your Apple device. I don't know how you do it on an Android, but you put in your zip code. Like for me, I'm at 28405. You do that on your smartphone. You get to the home page, bam, you bookmark that. And that is, now some of this is raw data, but you also have the forecast discussion and other stuff that is relevant to your area and no ads. All right. And you get the radar down here as well and all sorts of good stuff, hourly weather forecast. And you people that have these big old iPhone 16s and whatever, they're like a small iPad, this stuff looks good on there and Android devices included. So, little pro tip for you, ditch the Apple weather, sorry, Apple, and go for your local. Hey, look, you pay for this with your taxes. You might as well use it. All right. So let's jump off the screen share. And I don't know why this is so out of focus. Terrible. You know what? Let's just do stop the video, bring it back on. Yay! Much better. That's all I had to do. Let me jump back over on the YouTube and see what everybody's talking about, and then we will roll things up for the day. All right. Let's see. Last snowstorm in Charlotte was a total bust. Exactly. We get these busts. It's so hard because we love the snow. Most of us do as the kids inside of us, right? And some of us that have kids, they love it. So I really do hope it works out. Yeah, so Kathy, Android has the three dots, add to home screen. Bam! I'm telling you, you can do that with any web page, and it looks like a little web app. It's just beautiful. It takes you right where you need to be. All right? All right. Robin, what were you saying? Most of us spend a week without power already due to Helene. They only do electric heating here and they don't handle cold weather. Yeah, really. I mean, that's the thing. The very cold weather is going to be a problem and just making sure people are on top of it. All right. So the cold air comes down over the weekend and get settled in for early next week. And trying to get back to where I can see myself. And then everything starts up, Tuesday, Wednesday in my area, Monday for Texas and vicinity. So Monday afternoon, I like this time slot, by the way. This seems to work better. 120 people coming in. I often say it's like a lecture hall. Got 120 people in my classroom. So why don't we just do this like Monday afternoon and go about it then? Do another live update on Monday afternoon, and this will be pretty much on top of us. We'll probably have winter storm watches and warnings. And the beauty of this, I will be able to just cover it from right here in Southeast North Carolina, and hopefully right here in Wilmington, we can get enough snow and even the sleet. If we get enough snow and sleet, the kids will enjoy that. I got to be able to build a snowman with my daughter. She would love that. She is 9, and the last good snow we had here was 2018, and she was only 3 back then. So, maybe even, yeah, she's about 3 years old. She doesn't even remember. All right. So we'll keep an eye on it and see what's happening. And then on Monday, we'll also go over stuff that we look at in the off season related to hurricane season. I know that's many months away, but we'll just take a little bit of a peek at some of the different factors that we watch, sea surface temperature anomalies, that kind of thing. And but we'll be primarily focused on this big cold outbreak and make sure everybody's ready for that and whatever. And I'll be out and about covering it early next week. All right, let me drop the video out first so I can start my goodbyes. Jump back over to the title screen, get the GoPro player out of there, one thing at a time. There we are. All right, so look, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. And have a good weekend. I'll see you back here Monday afternoon. Let's just call it 2 o'clock Monday afternoon. I gotta see if I could do some scheduling. That'd be cool too. Just set it up, put something in the YouTube community. Bam, we're gonna do it at 2 o'clock Monday afternoon, and we will know a lot more between now and then, and that'll be very, very helpful. All right. Have a good weekend. I'm Mark Sudduth. Thanks for watching. I'll see you Monday afternoon.